So it started with four women, uh, in Marion Calder's sitting room. And it was a couple of the people that she'd sort of encountered in groups or online. And there was Trina Budge, who is the other director with me and Marion. And then there was Magdalene Burns, who did all the YouTube videos, and her girlfriend, Nicole. And they started it, and then they started recruiting other people. So I would say it was only a matter of a couple of weeks before the rest of us kind of got together, and we formed this little secret Facebook group. And then we met up in Edinburgh, because we were trying to work out at that point who we all were and what we could all do. And then, of course, Magdalene got she'd had brain cancer, and it returned glioblastoma, which is obviously it's incurable, and it was obviously an awful period. She died in 2019, and she was only 36, and so that that was a real initial. It could have derailed the whole thing, I think, because obviously she had quite a lot of public profile that I think we were hoping to use at that point, that she'd be able to be a kind of face and a voice for the organisation. So we had to think about how we organise that. And obviously as well, it was personally very devastating, especially for Nicole and Marion, who was very close to her. So then we were able to give evidence at committee on the census. I did that in 2018, and that sort of got us a bit known. And then we had our first public meeting, and that was interesting because we had no money. We had about £300 in our bank account, and we rented this room, and we had a couple of security. And we'd sold tickets, but we couldn't get the money for the tickets. And for a while, it went through Eventbrite. So we were sitting there in this room with no money. And then the threats started coming in from all these people from all over the world. And the hotel said, OK, you can still go ahead, but you have to quadruple the security. And
right.
We had to put it on credit cards and just hope for the best. But I always think all these things, every time they do stuff like this, it ends up backfiring on them. So a few of them turned up outside, and we actually had got a journalist who came along, and she listened to what we were saying. She went outside and talked to them, and she tried to make them sound reasonable. And one of the guys who she interviewed got really cross because she tried to make him sound reasonable and said, I didn't say everybody deserves to have their voices heard or whatever it was. I said mostly, but that lot don't because they're evil bitches, something like that. So she got this pile on the next day from these rabid activists who were furious that they were made to sound like reasonable human beings. And because of that publicity, we were able to say, look, they caused all these problems. We've got no money, help. And so we ended up then getting, I think we got about £3,000. So we were able to cover the security. And then, of course, we were able to have our other meeting in Scotland, which you came to. And we were able to fund that. So they did us a really good term, because then that was such a massive meeting in Parliament, in the Scottish Parliament, that you and Beck did, and it was incredible because it was the first time that had really been done in the Scottish Parliament, and I think it was eye-opening for quite a lot of people.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I thank you so much for inviting me, because it was such an amazing experience for me. Just meeting all of you women was so inspiring, because I mean, you all did this with nothing. You were just ordinary women with no funding and no power and, no legal expertise. And it's, we all think that I think we need, and you know, it has been a struggle for me to fight in Canada with no resources and no funding and little support and little power and so on and so forth. But I mean, yeah, it seems like we're coming up against this massive, massive, impenetrable power, these institutions and people with, yeah, with every advantage in the world. And we are, but you won.
Yeah. But of course, they can't accept that. So they have to believe that, you know, there's dark forces and probably Satan himself behind us.
Well, J.K.
Down gold.
Rowling, Satan herself.